or I would pick them up and put them in the bucket. And so I think realizing that, that was probably it was not when I was a teenager, because I just was a kid then and I accepted that this was the way it was. But after I had my own kids and we came back and started raising, then I started having a little bit of ethical questioning, because I was like, I can't kill these birds. I cannot make myself do it. There's something in me that won't allow me to kill them. And I genuinely thought that um, men had a gift, like to be able to carry out this thing, that because I was too sensitive and too, um, I was too sensitive to do it, which sensitivity in animal agriculture is like a weakness, like you, and so I really thought that, Rodney and my dad and that men were given this sort of gift or ability to be able to kill animals, to kill the animals for our food, for meat, and then if they need to mercifully kill them, and which I couldn't do. So I know when I started thinking along those lines, then definitely there was the question mark there.
I love how you said you wouldn't let you wouldn't let those thoughts or those questions come up. Like you were like actively kind of like pushing them away, and like even like not even consciously doing it, just they weren't coming up. I
Mhm.
think there's probably like a lot of wisdom in terms of like you're young, it's how your family makes a living. You made this big life change. It's your day to day. There's all of these things. Um, Something though to go back to the comment about loving animals. I firmly believe that a lot of people who farm animals, who are hunters, who are involved, like I know a ton of people, like countless people who eat animals and also love animals. And I don't see a contradiction in that. I think both things are possible, are totally possible. But it's the how strong is somebody's ability to like push down those questions that they might have, or to maybe not push them up and then be able to rationalize their way through them. I just want to get your thoughts on like, because you live in a farming community, is there a disconnect between people loving animals and then being part of animal agriculture?
I can speak for myself as a farmer, and knowing how we treated our animals, and knowing how, um, if you're going to be a good farmer, if you're going to be a good chicken farmer and a good cattle farmer, you have to take care of them. They have to be healthy, um, and well cared for. And there is an element of love. And if your beliefs, which most people are, is that animals are here for us for food, which of course that's what I believed, um, then there's this kind of story that you tell yourself about symbiosis, and that that it's the circle of life, and with that comes this sacrifice, and but that the health of the animal is so important to the farmer, because I mean it's not just for the health of the animal, but for his pocketbook. I mean, that if you're going to be a good cattle rancher, you have to take care of your cows. If you're going to be a good chicken farmer, you have to take care of your chickens, and or goats, or whatever it is. And so I one of the things that was hardest for me to hear in the vegan community was that the farmers are cruel, and um murderers, and all of these things. And it just like hurt my heart to know that people think these things about farmers, because um I honestly don't think that people who have not been around farmed animals can have that intimate knowledge of their lives. And there's something there, I think, that farmers, it's hard to say love, because they love their animals, which whenever I was, farming, the chickens to me were chickens. I mean, like we took care of them. We took care of our business when it came to chickens. That was our bread and butter. When it came to the cows, we had cow-calf operation, which meant that, babies were being born, and being involved in birth and, the event of a birth and making sure that the mama is healthy and that, that the baby's nursing and all of those very tender, um, moments of life. Those are things that we as farmers found. We didn't find that, any less miraculous, or, we didn't find less wonder in it because they were just a number or a commodity. They were still It was still our cows, and we were still, involved in that whole process of, birth. And then you have to make the very um necessary decision to take the calves to the sale barn, whenever they're weaning weight and ready to go. I mean, it's just part of good ranching practice. That's what happens. And that was the part that um I think all farmers dissociate from.
Right.
I think you just have to dissociate from uh, the end final thing that has to happen to an animal for them to become a food product.
I really feel that, as the kind of plant-based farming becomes moves towards being more viable, economically viable, and as we're like talking about the idea of like maybe more farms converting to that or starting off from that, many people are raised with the idea that animals are our food. And really, like historically, like I mean, from just like a circle of life as we're talking about, like any of this stuff, it's like, well, yeah, there was a time where that's totally true. It makes total sense. And we're also not talking about like mass scale factory farming or kind of like independent farmers who are like then in these big contracts, which I know we'll get to later on, that has the kind of like the illusion of being independent farmers, but you're kind of part of this big system. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking like most people are raised with the idea that animals are our food, just in many other, is just like the circle of life for many animals involves eating other animals. So we're raised with that idea, and then getting into a space where it's like you're in an industry like that and you have these moments of being like a human being who like is marvels at like the natural beauty of like of life and things happening. All of that is totally real, and people can totally care about wildlife and totally can care about animals and totally can care about the well-being of things. And what's also true is that when you live off of something or you're part of an industry, your ability to dissociate. I'm like beyond the point where I'm going to argue with vegans about stuff, like, which is part of even why I do stuff like this on the podcast, so I don't have to. Um, we can vilify every human being. Fantastic, great. Let's vilify everyone. At the same time, it's like if we're talking about doing like real, like large scale, meaningful, actual change, a farmer probably loves animals and probably loves nature and is just really good at dissociating, because people can dissociate from anything awful or terrible if it is deeply connected to how they make a living or their
Mm.
well-being or how they take care of their family. And it could be farming, it could be all sorts of industries that have negative things. And I think the idea that we like say like, oh, all farmers are murderers and they're heartless and they're this or that is like, I think it is the most obtuse thinking. And to me, it's the hallmark of someone who doesn't take their politics seriously. If the
Right.
first move is to dehumanize people. I just want to get your thoughts on that. How have you stayed close to your community amidst the change that you've done on your farm?
Well, it was a little messy at first. And I'll tell you, like, I didn't want to be vegan. I did not. I fought it so hard, because I was a farmer. It was just, I really thought vegans were so misinformed and just and crazy. And animal activists were just like, did not understand. And I knew how the community talked about, vegans. And so I know I didn't want to be one. But it just got to this place where I was like, I am one. Like, I am a vegan. I just like it. The last thing left to do is to call myself that. Um, and so, my community was at first shocked, and we kind of got ghosted a little bit by, people. My parents were definitely not happy at all. Um and but I think that it just takes time, and it's been since 2018 that we closed down our chicken house operation. And so there's been like this, like, you know kind of, it dipped down into the darkness, and we kind of felt very isolated. And um like, nobody's going to understand this. And the more I tried to explain it to anybody, the worse it got. um so, we did go through this period of just kind of feeling isolated. And but we still are out and about in the community, some. And we still have to buy feed from the feed store, and talk to the we it just kind of slowly, people started to realize we are still Rodney and Jennifer Barrett. And um and then it just started to get more comfortable out in the community. And then last month, my dad died. He was a beloved member of the community. He was a male. He carried the mail and just loved on the whole community. And so they loved him back. And he had a liver transplant in '03. And then this past February, um was diagnosed with terminal liver cancer. And then 3 weeks later, he had died. And so during that time, after he was diagnosed terminal, and then until he died, um, his the house just was filled with people from the community. Every day there was somebody there. And so while I was there as well, and in this transition of life, he it was like it was so, like, amazing to see these people who I've known and loved my whole life, since high school, who feel like family to me, um, rally around my dad. And then just to feel like, because they embraced us as well. They embraced the whole family, including me and Rodney and my kids. And um, didn't nothing mattered that we were vegan. That shit didn't matter at all. All that mattered was that we were beloved, and that we were seen and witnessed, and that they rallied around during this time of loss. And so this is just very recent that this has happened. And it just really, like, healed something for me personally, because I tend to get a little depressed and feel sorry for myself sometimes. I mean, I'm a very happy person, but I overthink things a lot. And having been a topic of conversation, and having, kind of been thrown into this position when, like, my whole life, I didn't want anything more than just mind my business out here on my farm and have a quiet life. Um, and then to become like this topic of conversation among the community and everything, and being these like weird people, crazy vegans. Then I during that time when dad passed, to just see individual faces and hugs and love. And then the way that they, everybody showed up to the memorial service, and they even made sure that we had vegan food there at the memorial service, these church ladies. And I mean, it meant so much to me. And I think the way that we just stayed true to who we are. And they eventually, the shock of it kind of wore off. And, you know, they found out we're just still human beings.